going to try to clip through this meeting, though, okay? Promise. You ready, Paula? Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the Downtown Designer Review meeting for November 21st, 2013. First order of business, turn off Betsy's cell phone so it won't ring in the middle. Yours too, if you would, please. Roll call.
Betsy Brunstetter.
Present.
Gigi Faulkner.
Present.
Charles Ainsworth.
Present.
Ike Aikenwande.
Present.
Connie Scothorn.
Present.
Richard Tannenbaum.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Great. I hope that all of you have read the minutes. I need a motion and a second. Tannenbaum, Ainsworth, all in favor? Any opposed? Continuance request. We have 509 Northwest 7th. It's a demolition, asking for a continuance for until the December meeting. Now, Scotty, you said we might not have a December meeting.
Right.
Do we want to say January meeting?
Yes, January meeting.
January meeting. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve. Move to continue.
Okay, that was Gigi and Dick. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, consent docket. This is an addition to the City Center East Garage. Do we have a motion on this?
Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. All in favor? Any opposed? The consent docket is approved. Congratulations. Cases for individual consideration. This is 100 West Main Street. Is the applicant present? Could you come forth, state your name, and write it on the little sheet of paper in front of you, please. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, how are you? Jeremy Gardner, Butzer Gardner Architects.
Committee members, can I remind you to turn your mics on? We're not picking up anybody but Betsy.
Thank you.
Got it.
So, Jeremy,
Yes. Good
want to
morning.
tell us about your project?
Okay, 100 West Main. It's the existing Old Century Center garage, the intersection between Main, Sheridan, and Robinson. The scope of this work is basically to peel back all of the old precast panels that kind of create the bunker effect that this building has had over the last 30, 40 years, and going back with a curtain wall system to kind of breathe new life into this project as a viable commercial leasable space. I think some of the other things that we're trying to accommodate here is the building is situated a little bit uniquely in the downtown in that it's set back. Its property line is the building sets off at the property line. So some of the things that we're trying to do with what we're proposing is to create to bring the facade out a little bit along the western edge to help screen the parking, but also to help with the urban condition so that it doesn't become such a sterile block, from north to south. So we're using that arcade that we're introducing there on the west to also provide it an opportunity to put the digital screen, which is also in consideration here today. If you look at those renderings, you can see along Robinson we've created that arcade, and we're suspending off of that a wire mesh to screen the parking. That wraps around the floors 3 and 4 currently to screen the parking, but we're also trying to articulate that in such a way that it provides an opportunity to create that armature for that digital media screen at the southwest corner of the building. And so basically the new material palette will be curtain wall, aluminum curtain wall, glass, stainless steel wire mesh, and then also the existing concrete columns we're coming back with a glass reinforced concrete just to help kind of clean up the whole facade. So it'll be very streamlined and just a really clean take on that existing structure.
So Jeremy, it looks like you're taking out some of the precast panels and
Right.
putting the storefront back in. That's wonderful.
Right, so there's a pretty large floor-to-floor height on floors 1 and 2. It's about 18 feet floor-to-floor. And so we're taking all of that precast and infill brick off so that you'll have, from sidewalk, you'll have basically 36 feet of glass. And that will be open. Opubco is taking a large portion of that, so you'll be able to kind of experience Opubco from the sidewalk and all the things that go on inside there. There'll be a video studio on the northwest corner at Main and Robinson. So there's lots of things that are going on along the street to kind of activate that what was before a very static urban condition.
So it looks like you're using clear anodized.
Clear anodized aluminum
And-
storefront, clear insulated glazing units with low E, all those things to help the energy efficiency.
Okay.
And then the welded wire mesh is it's about a 50% open product, so that you still will be able to see the lighting inside the parking levels to help continue to let that building facade evolve from day to night, and so that it remains active visually.
Scotty, you have anything to say?
We don't have any negative recommendations on the building remodel itself. The only problem that we have is with the sign, the EMD sign. We'll have topics and subjects that are not necessarily accessory to that building itself. So it's going to be designated as a non-accessory, and there are certain restrictions in the sign ordinance that prohibit that size and the placement of that screen there. So we would ask that you approve the project with the condition that the applicant receive a variance to the sign ordinance, and in a separate motion that you recommend approval to the Board of Adjustment for that variance.
Okay. Any questions from the committee?
I do have a question about the sign. In the submittal, it says 991.8 square feet, and I assume that's for the big sign. And then
Correct.
on the application, it says 2113 square feet. Does that include both the
We're
signs
considering
you refer to? Or?
another sign near the entry to Pubco, but we haven't kind of settled in on location and things like that yet, so we don't want that considered
Okay.
today. It's just
so,
the north sign.
So it's just the sign today, the big one on the corner?
Yes.
And that's part of
That's,
this?
yeah, that is the one that, I think the minimum requirements are 35 feet from ground level. The bottom of this sign is at 32 feet 6, so those are the situations that we need.
Okay.
So I have a little problem with the sign. Not only, I'm not a fan of the sign in the first place, but in the context of a big park across the street, which is where you're aiming the sign. It's also really visible if you are watching a performance on the stage in the Mary Gardens. That's going to be a distraction because you're going to see right through it. And I would be happier if it wasn't facing the park.
Right. I think the idea for that sign is for Opubco to kind of be that town crier, where it becomes a place for the news and things that are locally centric to be kind of projected out towards the community. In terms of the logistics of if there's performances that are going on and there needs to be some coordination as to whether that screen is dialed down during those times, I don't know how we can accommodate that. But the digital, it's all very easy to control, the content and everything that goes on, the programming of that sign. But that's something that we'd have to work out with
Okay.
Opubco.
Any other comments from the committee? Is there anyone in the audience that
I
would...
do.
Oh, you'd like to
I
comment?
mean, we've talked about this philosophically. I mean, I like the signs, and I like, and we're going to see another project here in a minute, and You know, I think the neon and the signs and the lights, and, I mean, I think it adds, it makes the city more vibrant. And I'm guessing that being the good citizens that Opubco are, that if there's right, Gary, if there's a concert going on over there, that you guys would tone that thing down a little bit. But I don't know. I mean, it's just a philosophical difference. But
Right. I understand.
I like it.
I like the sign also, so, sorry. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to say anything? Dick, did you have a comment?
Nope.
You want to make a motion?
Well, we'll get there.
Go for it.
Ready to move to approve with a recommendation to the Board of Adjustments for a variance on the size of the sign.
She said 2 separate motions.
Oh, it has to be two separate motions, Dick.
All right, I move to approve
With
Go
the
ahead.
condition that they get the variance?
with the condition that they get the variance.
Okay.
Okay. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
And that-
opposed?
I make a motion that we provide a recommendation to, we didn't approve it, did we approve it?
We approved it, we did have a nay, and I just needed Paula to note that. Connie? Do we have another nay? No? Okay.
Great.
Go for it.
I'd like to provide a recommendation to approval to the Board of Adjustment for the variance of the sign ordinance.
Do I have a second? Okay. That was Chuck and Dick. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Connie? Okay. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
being here, and we can't wait to see this done.
Me either.
Next item. Scotty, do we have an issue with the room? Or are they going to meet back there?
There's people gathering for the MAPS meeting that was supposed to come in at 10.
Okay. We're just going to barrel on through until we're told we
Yeah,
have to
just
leave.
like
Okay.
the Airports Trust did.
Okay. The next case is 36 Northeast 10th Street. Is the applicant present? Come forth, state your name, and write your name on that little piece of paper. Hello, Timothy.
Good morning. The applicant is present today, as it happens, but in the interest of continuity, I'm going to speak, if I may. My name is Timothy Neville-Lee. I'm here with Alford Hall Monaghan Morris Architects, and I'm speaking on behalf of my client, Terina Self.
Timothy, can you tell us what you changed on this project, since I think we're all familiar with it?
Yes, with pleasure. The issues that were, the matters arising from the last presentation, is my recollection is that there was an issue with the veil, as we call it, the fence that was projected in front of the storefront glazing. My recollection is that 5 of the committee members, the staff report, and a member of the general public told me how much they hated that. So I can take a hint. We omitted it. We also were tasked to go back and have a look at the design of the north facade, which we've done. I think probably the drawings that you have in front of you belie the amount of thinking that has gone on to make this proposition. We felt that, with consideration, the removal of the veil in front of the storefront glazing did not really detract in a significant way from the project, but that all of the other parts that we have arrayed on that north facade we judged to be the appropriate response to the site and the brief. I can talk in detail about those various different points if you like, or I can respond to questions if you have any.
I think that we discussed this pretty extensively before. Does anyone have any questions about the signage?
I just have it's probably in here. Are you going to do the ghost sign and the proposed neon Jesus Save sign? Is that?
Well, no. In fact, that's one of the things that I wanted to try and be clear on. There are, from the staff report, I think there are 3 signs mentioned. There's the Trompe L'Oeil bindery sign that unfortunately is bleached out of this image that runs across the top of the facade. And then there is the Jesus Saves neon. We're not proposing to paint Jesus Saves onto the building. The sign, the neon sign, is the Jesus Saves sign.
Okay, and the Duncan Bindery sign is still a kind of like a recess in the plaster, is that?
It has that appearance, yes. It's
Okay.
painted to appear that way.
No questions from the committee? Scotty?
And we still have an issue with the modifications to the exterior because it does not reflect the original configuration of the doorways and the windows. In addition to that, the signage does not comply with the sign ordinance, does not comply with our guidelines and regulations either. So we ask you to determine whether or not you think that the modifications to the exterior are detrimental to the history of this building, and if so, or if not, then approve case item 1. We want to split it up into two separate subjects. Case item 1, which would be the exterior facade, and case item 2, which would be the signage. If you feel like it is not is detrimental, that we ask you to deny or continue this section of the case to the next available meeting with an alternate plan for the exterior on the north facade. If you feel like the signage does not comply with our regulations, does not comply with the ordinance, the sign ordinance, so we recommend denial of the signage.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this? Any other discussion from the committee? Do we have a motion?
First of all, I just want to say that this building has been sitting there in really bad shape for a very long time, and these people are talking about spending a tremendous amount of money on it, and I think I think it's going to be done right. I think some buildings, I'm a preservationist, but I think some buildings you have to, make some modifications to adapt them to a use that can make economic sense. So, I like the project, and I'm ready to move approval, including the sign.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the project, including the sign. That is, all in favor, say yes.
Betsy, if you're going to do that, you're going to have it with the condition that they get a variance to the sign ordinance. Okay.
And provide a recommendation to get a variance for the sign.
Second.
Okay, so that's Ainsworth, Akawande. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Can we have a second motion for the recommendation of approval to the Board of Adjustment?
Okay.
Make a motion that we send that recommendation for approval to the Board of Adjustment.
Second.
Okay. Ainsworth, Akawande. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you all very much.
And may I say, I think you've set a new bar for the eloquence of a presentation. Thank you.
It's kind of you to say so, thank you.
Okay, next item. (110) Northwest 10th Street. Is the applicant present? And he's writing his name, and he's going to give it to us in just 1 second. Hello, David.
Hello. My name's David Krzyzewski. My project is remodeling the Marion Hotel. It's at 10th and Broadway.
Yay.
It's been dilapidated for decades. We're turning it into some high-end apartments, 10 apartments. We're going through the HP process, so we're essentially leaving the 3 facades visible, the north, the west and the east as they are, bringing them back to pristine historical conditions. Inside, we're leaving the monumental stair, which is an open grand stair. We're taking it apart and meticulously putting it back together. So the corridors and the public spaces will be as originally built in 1908. The changes we're making are on the back side. There is a alcove in the back that had a circular fire stair that is no longer a feasible fire stair. From a code standpoint, we're putting in a new stair. So we're taking in that space as part of our building. If you maybe look at, let me open my drawings, my cheat sheet, and I can tell you what drawings to maybe look at to tell. If you look at the existing drawings that Catherine Montgomery at Preservation Architecture did, it shows the alcove area there. That's what we're filling in. And if you look at the current drawings for construction, maybe sheet A202 shows where we're infilling. And across the back where we're infilling, we're going to use a standing seam vertical zinc panel. I've included some examples that aren't in your packet of that, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. We feel it's a timeless product. Zinc's been used for roofing and siding from the mid-centuries, 1500s, 1400s. It's a very durable product. It's a non-metallic, non-shiny product. It's a very warm, and I think it's a very compatible product for the back of this building. It is in the back of the building. If you can look at sheet, maybe the best sheet to look at would be A302. It shows that back elevation. What that back elevation is showing, if you look at the elevation number 2 on that sheet, it shows the vertical zinc panel. They're about 16 inches wide, standing seam. It's showing some CMU. I want to clarify that CMU panel, which is concrete block, that concrete block is actually hidden. This building abuts the building to the south directly. So that concrete block is not seen at all. We're using that concrete block to get our 1-hour fire rating when we're filling that in. It abuts the existing building. It's the best way we feel to build that, because we can build it from the inside of our building, because we're zero lot line to that building to the south. So the concrete block is really an interior item to create a firewall. What you'll see is the zinc above. If you
Got
look
it.
at
So it's not visible.
not visible
to
at
us.
all. And on the inside, it has drywall over it. So it's a structural component and a fire rating component of the building. Above that is zinc. If you look at A303, we did a sightline study, and it kind of shows that back of that building. And the south elevation exhibit number 5 on that sheet shows the alcove, and that's above the CMU, and that's where you'll see that zinc standing seam. We are also modifications making it, which this same exhibit will show. We're putting some clear story monitors on the roof. We're putting them in the relative same place as there was an areaway. Back when this building was built, it had a attic vent, per se, to let air out and opening windows. Now that it's a modern building and air conditioning, that areaway vent is not needed. It was above the main stair. So to make those top level 2 apartments more desirable and more aesthetically functional, we're putting some monitors above there. These drawings show on A303 show the sight lines of those monitors and show that they are not visible from the north at all, and you have to go more than, I think, what did we say, 75 feet away till you can even see any of them. And this drawing was prepared for your benefit as well as for the National HP benefit, to show that the monitors are not a detriment for the HP character of the building. If you don't mind going to those images that I sent you, it'll give you an example of what the zinc panels look like. There are some in Oklahoma City at Classen or at Whole Foods on the southeast corner of where the cafe is. have some of these panels there. That's the only local example I could come up with. But that's the exact panel we're using. It's, I think, a very elegant solution for the addition of that building, and not trying to emulate what, the brick or anything like that for the building.
Is SHPO okay with the zinc?
Yes.
Okay. And the windows,
Yes, the windows,
are they wood or?
they are aluminum-clad
Okay.
wood pellet windows, which is acceptable.
And SHPO's okay with?
Absolutely.
That they're double hung?
Yes. Yeah,
1/1?
We're matching the size of the stiles and muttons exactly with the windows we're using. They're just an aluminum-clad window, which has been a little bit of a change, but SHPO in the National Trust are okay with using those windows now.
And they're double glazed?
Yes, they recognize that there is a need to have modern energy-efficient windows in even the older buildings, as long as they have the character, and our windows definitely are within 1/8 of an inch of the size of the existing windows that we're replacing.
Excellent. Any other changes in material?
On the exterior, no.
Scotty?
Although these facades are not highly visible, these two materials are not included in our list of materials that are encouraged for exterior. So we've given you two options once again. If you feel like these materials are appropriate, then you can go with option one, that is to approve the application on the basis that the project complies with the regulations and the guidelines of the ordinance. If you are of the opinion that it does not, that these are not appropriate materials, or you have other suggestions, we want you to go with option two, which is to approve the majority of the project, continue case item 1H, which would be the exterior cladding of just that south facade.
I'd like to emphasize that the CMU is not visible, so I'm not sure why that's a contention. And then secondly, that the architectural panels that we're using, they are architectural panels, and I feel that they are in compliance with the regulations for the DDRC.
Scotty, you were actually just saying the cladding material, so that, weren't you just talking about the zinc, or were you actually talking about
The CMU too, because that's not included.
It probably shouldn't have been shown on our elevation, because we won't see it.
Right. These are construction documents. We submitted them as the exhibits for this. They were deceiving probably, and that may be why that came up as a concern for staff. But I'm here to tell you that the block is behind the building. Once it's up, it'll never be seen.
Okay. I just want to comment that I think the zinc is a wonderful solution for the back of that building, which is not tremendously visible. It's a time-honored solution. I think it's very sensitive, and I love the fact that it's kind of an organic material and not shiny. Absolutely can see that the CMU does not show, and I just think you've done a beautiful job and a really wonderful submission. You gave us so much information to look at, and it was delightful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love this building.
Well, we're looking forward to.
And I move to approve it on the conditions that it meets the downtown design ordinance.
I second it. It's a pleasure that we're not tearing something down for a change.
Yeah, it is nice.
Nice rehab.
I do have a quick question.
Sure.
It's currently kind of like, I think somebody sandblasted the building, which is really unfortunate, but it's got some paint on it, but I didn't realize that it was clearly painted before.
Well, originally, from the archive of photographs, it was not painted. It looks like somewhere in the 60s, somebody got the great idea to paint it. And the building hasn't been sandblasted.
Okay.
That's just neglect of that paint. It's just fallen off over the years.
So the final finish would be brick, but
Red
no
brick,
paint.
and there actually is some beige brick that will actually come back to life when we rehabilitate the brick. But our goal is to bring it back to what we see archivically, the 1908.
Can you get tax credits on this deal?
Yes, this is tax credit.
Excellent.
Yes.
It'll look great. We have a second on the motion on the floor, Madam
Yeah, we
Chairman.
do. Are you calling the question?
No, I'm just asking.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
you.
Congratulations, we're very excited to see your project. Next item. Jeremy, are you coming back up? 620 North Harvey Avenue.
Hello again.
Hello.
Want to sign in again?
Officially introduce yourself to the recording.
Jeremy Gardner with Booster Gardner Architects, representing the Oklahoma City Memorial Foundation. Just real quick, what we're doing for this project is we are reworking that west canopy along the entrance of the Memorial Museum. Its current condition right now is that it's held off the building. The back of the awning does not touch the General Record building. So our approach right now is it's caused a little bit of an issue for museum goers, as there are benches that line against the base of the General Record building. So if there's inclement weather, you can't sit on those benches and be undercover. So we're proposing that we kind of close that gap and kind of rethink the construction of that canopy. And we're also proposing that we take the canopy and turn the corner along the south facade of the General Record building. There's going to be some new museum exhibit material that will be on that southwest corner, which will be a digital display, which is also on this agenda for consideration. The other thing that we're doing is we're taking the existing signage that states the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum and moving that from the southern half of the west facade of the General Record, and we're locating it in the center, just directly above the entrance into the museum. What we're dealing with right now is the fact that the trees that have matured over time, they're south of that, or just west of the building, is obscuring the signage. So we're advocating moving that signage. Most of it will be reused. 3-foot letters will be reused, but we are coming back with new 2-foot letters that will stand off the building that say the State of Oklahoma City. So those will be the only two, or the only new elements to that signage. We're also taking the small letters that were directly above the revolving door, the smaller signage, and moving them to the south side of that entrance so that it's more legible for the guests, given the fact that we're closing that gap in between the back of the awning and the General Record building.
This sounds like a kind of a sticky point, but it appears that you're making changes to the south side of the building, and we don't have, or I don't have, a south elevation.
Is the south elevation in there? Basically, it turns. And it projects. Is the plan? I'm sorry if that didn't make it in the packet. Basically, it turns and goes.
Do you have an illustration that we could?
I don't have it on me, actually. I thought it was in this packet, so I apologize for that. It basically turns and heads east along that south facade by about 15 feet.
Scotty, is this an item that you could have administratively approved, or you've got?
Some of it I could not have approved the large sign because it exceeds 100
Right.
square feet, and I couldn't approve the small one because it requires a variance,
Okay.
because it protrudes along the walkway.
Well, and a lot of people would dispute me on this, but I don't believe that we can approve something that we don't have a drawing for, even though I'm sure it's just fine. Can we just talk about the signage and give the rest to you?
Yes, you can recommend approval with the condition that they come back to the staff with drawings that show compliance with the ordinance for administrative approval.
Is that okay with you guys?
Yes.
Okay. All right. What else? What do you want? You want to talk about anything?
No, we just recommend approval with the condition that they get a variance to that half inch that sign sticks out into the walkway.
Okay, that's my motion. Second.
You have to make it more complicated than that. You have to say what Betsy said before.
Yes, you are, Chuck. I promise you are.
Right, Dick. Move to approve the condition that staff will review the missing drawing and approve it and administrative.
And
And
And recommend condition to get a variance to the rear adjustment on this sign. Second.
do we have to make two separate motions for the Board of Adjustment?
it would be best if you could. That way, if anybody has any hidden objections, this is their time to step forward and say yes or yay or nay.
Approval with the condition that it's a,
And the conditions will be that the applicant bring back the revised drawing showing the missing elevation for our approval.
I did that one.
And with the condition that they get a variance to the sign ordinance. And then you'll
Ditto.
make, someone will make
okay,
it.
so we got a motion, and we have a second. That would be Chuck Ainsworth. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now, we need another motion for the variance.
Chuck, take it, bro.
I make a recommendation that we provide a recommendation for approval to the Board of Adjustment.
And I second Chucky baby.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're getting a little giddy up here.
The holiday
Thank you
time.
very much for bringing
you.
that. We look forward to seeing your project done. We have no other business. We have some communication items. There is a presentation by Scott Dedman, ADG. Could the presenter come forth? Anybody else that wants to do a song and dance in front of us? And this is for 10th and Chartel. I do know this guy. I don't have
Scott
to leave,
Dedman
do
with
I?
ADG Architects. And with me today is David Leesenby with Millhouse Development, and Gary Brooks is sitting in the back, the co-developers on this project. And since this is Millhouse's first project in Oklahoma City, I wanted to let David introduce his company.
Very good.
Please sign in before you leave the podium.
Before I approach the podium.
Well, actually,
At
just
some-
before you leave. Hi, David. How are you?
Hi. Thank you for the time today for us to tell you a little bit about our project. As Scott mentioned, we'll be back next month or the month after that with a full presentation. But I want to take a minute just to tell you a little bit about Millhouse and us as a company before Scott tells you the details of the design. We're focused on urban neighborhoods. We're developers of urban infill and multifamily housing. We are predominantly in the Midwest, and we are 25 people. We have about $150 million of construction ongoing today throughout the Midwest, and we're focused on Oklahoma City today. And we have a real commitment to design, to urban living, that we work really hard with different neighborhoods and design groups to create a project that is not just meant for our customers, but really meant to help change neighborhoods. So you'll see that a little bit in our other projects. And I just want to give you a flavor of a few of our other current projects and what we have under development. Just a few other slides, which, how do I click through those? Just this? Oh, there we go. So you'll see we have quite a bit of difference of, we develop custom solutions for every project. This is just a few that we have completed recently in Indianapolis, that we have a mixture of colors and materials and different heights. And these are all in the Indianapolis area right here. Currently under development, this is a 500-unit project downtown Indianapolis that is about 45 to $50 million that is a public-private partnership that includes 600 spaces that we lease from the city of Indianapolis and a larger 1,000-space parking garage. So we're very familiar with shared parking and parking arrangements, and we see a trend going on in Indianapolis that I predict will happen here in Oklahoma City with more projects like this. 15 years ago when we started developing downtown Indianapolis, we were required, not just by the city, but also as developers, to do about a space and a half per unit for every residential unit. And today we're only doing 0.9 to 1 space per unit. So we're developing some projects with less than 1 space and having no problem leasing. It's been the city's commitment to transit, the city's commitment to open space and parks and pedestrian ways in the downtown area and biking paths and bike lanes that have really allowed that to happen. We now have to do about 50 to 75% of bike parking in our buildings to compensate for that, but that's a much more affordable and much more impactful to the neighborhoods. So I thought I might share that with you as we're working really hard on our projects that we're looking at here in Oklahoma City, studying that very carefully with what's going on here. Also, downtown Indianapolis under development, here's a 230-unit project in a historic neighborhood where we had to work through a committee such as yours here, very stringent design guidelines in a historic district. In fact, we have a 2-story building that is a historic building, you see right here, that we are maintaining and renovating to be the leasing office and a fitness facility and a lounge on the first floor, and then doing 3 apartments upstairs of that. But all this is surrounded by 4- and 5-story apartments around it. There you get a glimpse of the historic building there next to the new pool plaza. And then finally, this is the last one, and I'll let Scott get up here and talk about 10th and Chartel. But in Cincinnati, we have a smaller 129-unit project that is a former rail line in a lumber mill that we were awarded the site by the city of Cincinnati to redevelop to fit into a very eclectic and very determined neighborhood to develop. They basically designed this building. We worked with them for 6 months through the leaders of the neighborhood who really wanted to see something like this. So the end result is something that they're very proud of, but we also are very confident in our ability to lease it. It fills a huge gap that has existed for a long time in this neighborhood. They fought off CVS and Walgreens and all these other things that were trying to be here because they wanted something like this. And so we're really fortunate that we were able to work on that with them. So with that, I'll turn that over to Scott to tell you about what we're doing here. Oh, and I failed to mention, I didn't need to tell you that Cornerstone is involved in the project. We are a co-developer with Cornerstone, and we will be building the project, and Cornerstone will be the property manager.
Great. Thank you very much.
This is a project we're really excited about. Of course, we've worked with St. Anthony Hospital for years and have known about this piece of property, this piece of land that has been at 10th and Chartel, and has always felt that it was a little far away from downtown. So we're excited to see that the development is moving this far west. The site's a great site, has a terrific view across the hospital to downtown, and is within a mile of the downtown area. So just to give you a quick idea of how we've developed the site, we have control of the entire site now, that entire block, and of course it abuts 10th Street and Chartel and the new traffic circle. We're kind of surrounded by a mix of things: office space, parking garages. Of course, the Cottage District is adjacent, and St. Anthony Hospital. And of course, with our design, we want to be very aware of our neighbors and how we relate to all of that through materials and phasing. And when we first looked at the site, we started looking at where the best opportunities were for views from the site. And of course, the majority are looking back toward downtown, up 10th Street, up Chartel. We have a parking garage behind the Pastor building that we have to look at. We have some surface parking, both north and south. One thing we weren't aware of when we were doing the planning on this, that there was another project being planned that I think Brian's going to talk about here in a minute, And this is the new project along Francis. And so since we presented, or since we submitted our packet to you guys that you received, we've made some revisions to the plan, and so we want to talk about those a little bit today. Just some of the facts of the project. We've got about 3.5 acres. We're building 327 units, plus or minus, depends on who in the office is doing the count at the time. It's 27 or 28. We've got a real mix of units. We do have a handful of micro units that are at 357 square feet, all the way up to a 3-bed, 3-bath at 1,450 square feet. So really a wide variety of unit sizes. The total building area for the housing, this doesn't include the garage, is around 330,000 square feet. And we do have some commercial space, about 5,500. The project is primarily 4-story. We have some areas that are 5-story. We have one small area that even hits 6 stories. It's very, very limited. You really don't see it except for a courtyard. I think one of the key things is we're really looking at how we maximize the density of that site. And so we're at 93 units an acre, so a very, very dense project. Our parking structure is sized for 445 cars. Like David said, we're trying to keep the parking ratio down. We're at 1.3 per unit, and then we're providing an additional 20 spaces for the retail tenant. Again, the site itself it's great to have that entire block. There's just not many parcels like that available still in downtown Oklahoma City. The site does have a considerable amount of slope to it, which is interesting to work with. So we've got 17 feet of fall from east to west on that site. And we haven't gotten with planning and traffic yet, but we'd like to propose parallel parking around the site, diagonal parking along 10th Street, similar to what you see at Kaiser's further down on 10th. As we look at the uses for the site, really our 100% corner, of course, is the 10th and Chartel corner, and that's where we're going to locate the commercial retail space. Adjacent to that would be the resident amenity space, the clubhouse, the fitness center, the leasing office. And then the parking garage tucked back in the backside across from the surface parking lot. That sort of sets up some axes for the site. And what it develops, it sort of cuts the project up in quadrants. And so that's the way we've developed the layout. So we've tried to maximize the amount of units. And what we've ended up with is the parking garage in one quadrant, a large courtyard, a smaller courtyard, and then the smallest courtyard that the resident amenities look out on. And actually, there are spaces that connect all of these courtyards into one area, so you can move from one courtyard to the next. Just to kind of get an idea in section what happens. So we have the Chartel's the high side, of course. Francis is the low. So we have 4 stories along Chartel, the courtyard, and then the parking garage really works with the slope of the land. And then 4 stories along Francis. If you looked at the other section, the one that's a little closer to 10th Street, we're 5 stories where we have the commercial space and the leasing office. So we have a concrete podium and then 4 stories of construction above that. And then the courtyards actually step in elevation. So the east courtyards are a floor higher than the large west courtyard. So we have 4 stories on one side of that one, 5 stories on the other side. So just to give you some ideas of the images, again, you can see the parking garage is tucked. It's wrapped on, completely wrapped on 2 sides. The courtyard with a breezeway is on the east side. Now, one of the key things on the parking garage, we need to keep that an open parking garage. We can't do a full wrap because we incur a tremendous amount of expense to have to mechanically ventilate that garage. So we're doing everything we can to keep 2 sides open and be able to get natural ventilation in that garage. So that's one of the key things you'll notice on that. So a little aerial view, you can see the courtyard location and sort of the massing of the units. Again, this is our primary focal point on the 10th and Chartel side. And that's the image of that 10th and Chartel with the traffic circle. And then really as we work our way around, this is Chartel looking down 11th Street, and you can just see the edge of the parking garage in this location. This is 11th and Francis. Our material palette, again, trying to relate back to the community, we're using brick, certainly on the first level, and in some places it will extend more than just the first level. The majority of the other panel will be a mixture of several types of cement fiberboard with metal reveals that will separate those panels. The majority of the balconies are attached or extended balconies with guardrails. And then the elevations, this is the Chartel elevation. You can see the massing of that. The first floor units all have stoops that access the street. The northwest tent, you can really see how the slope affects the elevations. Again, this is sort of our focal point at the traffic circle. The building steps down a couple of stories by the time you get to Francis. Then the Francis elevation is a little bit quieter, a little more of a neighborhood street. Again, all along Francis, we have units facing Francis with stoops from the lower units with steps down to Francis. And then 11th Street facing back toward the office building and the surface parking lot, we have the parking garage tucked in, breezeway in this location, and then just the remainder of that. And then again, just the corner element. So again, we're just presenting this today for information, so you guys are aware of the project, and then we'll be back in January for our submission. So we'd be happy to answer any questions. We'd love to get any comments that you guys have, anything you see that you might have a concern with.
Any comments?
Great. Thank you very much.
Scotty?
This is just a presentation.
Okay.
We like it.
Okay. The next item. Sorry. Presentation by Brian Fitzsimmons. Northwest 12th and Francis.
Brian Fitzsimmons, Fitzsimmons Architects.
Speak up, Brian.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. This is in essence northwest of the project that was just presented by Scott. One of the main reasons that we wanted to bring this forward is to begin the dialogue between this project, the one presented by Scott, and also thinking about what's coming in the future, whether it's announced or not. And nothing's been announced, but consideration of the parking garage is what we're wanting to start the dialogue. So let's start this project. We're looking at the overall development site. St. Anthony's, very similar to what we talked about, so we know that this is 1201 Francis. It's all apartments. It's not any commercial aspect. It's a 4-story building, 3 stories of accessible units, and then the 4th floor is actually a 2nd floor, 2 units on the 3rd floor. There's many developments coming along. There's developments already in existence. There's existing apartments in this location, existing apartments on the north side of 12th. Catholic Charities will soon be building on 12th and Classen. The existing Physicians building, and yes, it's a large parking lot, but it certainly has potential knowing that we have the momentum coming. This is the immediate site adjacent to the project presented here. This is an existing historically renovated apartment and an existing historically renovated building that is used as a commercial, actually. What we are, let's go through this as well. So this is the view from the current site, looking across the parking lot toward downtown, and then looking across the same site toward where Francis will be. The apartments are overall design is kind of looking at a mix of contextual scale and use of materials brought to more of a modern vocabulary. It'll be a large mix, high-volume spaces, mix of flats and lofts and two-story units. And the overall idea behind the circulation is to create kind of dynamic community interaction shy of having a courtyard. The site plan, these are the existing buildings owned by the same developer to the north. And one of the things that's interesting is the stoops, the large concrete stoops that are started on those projects, and creating that kind of same vibe or a response to that, stoops that lead up into the courtyard circulation and also into breezeways, and setting that rhythm of the large stoops along Francis Street. Very quick plans. As you can see, there's a variety of unit sizes and types, and the light blue and the dark blue is setting up this kind of community corridors and breezeways through the building. You can almost think of it as a beehive effect, but units are set up in clusters to a common entry court. The top image is the west elevation, so facing basically the parking area, and then we have the street elevation on the front. You kind of see the rhythm setting up down the street of the brick elevations, and then we've carved out the center space, which leads to that interior circulation courtyard. And a big emphasis for this was to give as many apartments as possible a forward view toward the east in the downtown area, with large patios and terraces out front of those, and again creating kind of that interesting interaction between the units. The top is a section, the west side on the left, and the east side on the right, so Francis. This is through one of the breezeways with the stoops, and then a section going south to north on the right of the dynamic circulation space, and you can see how all the units can interact with each other. And then some renderings to show that. Materials, simple material palette, brick, where we have the spaces carved out using cement board and more of a lap board effect, and then guardrails and et cetera, very non-existent as a wire mesh.
So those are all the guardrails?
That will be everything. And most of that will be interior. There will be very little of that on the exterior. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Do I hit the,
kind of see
how do I go back? There we go. So you can see some of that along here. And it's actually a cable mesh. It's been used around town in various places. And so you'll have some visible on the actual stoop. Probably start the guardrail higher up rather than extending out to the street at the required 30-inch height, so that would actually be more or less in line with the front face of the building. And then the guardrails basically make the netting going up.
Ryan, did you say, can you tell us where, you said it's in various parts of town. Can I have an example where you...
See, I know it's for sure on the Devon Boathouse, on the guardrails on the east side of that, on the upper floor, and
what?
also on the prow at Devon Boathouse.
Okay.
Same material. That's the easiest one to find because it's public. So.
Yep. Meets code.
Yes. Yes, it does. It's pulled very tight. It's basically like a net.
One of the things I noticed is you've got a tremendous amount of parking on the back side, or it appears that you do.
Mm-hmm. How can I go to the front? Okay.
Just when you show your site plan. Yep, that was it. Wasn't that it?
Yes, this is the site adjacent. Here is the parking lot of Catholic Charities. Might be good to look at the previous slide.
So do you have any kind of fence or anything?
Yes, we have not. This is preliminary design. We are intending to at least do a lot of vegetation or a fence or something. We also have not designed the carports, but most of that will be covered, not visible. And so there's the existing, what is that, dollar store here. The parking's basically the west half of that site. Catholic Charities, the building itself is in the upper quadrant, upper northwest quadrant, and the rest of this is parking lot. And our intent, yes, is to heavily vegetate and screen from Classen. So, and in essence, it's on a property line, not an accessible alley or anything like that.
So
It's basically the backyard.
Once again, how many units and how many parking
It's
spaces?
43 units. Let's go forward. All right, I can hit that button.
There you go, 43.
So there's 43 total new parking. There's the existing parking, which will all be shared as well to the north. And the intent would also be to get parallel parking on Francis if we can get that.
Any questions?
You know what the price point's going to be on these? Are these high-end, low-end, medium? I mean, you know?
It'll be market.
Pardon me?
It'll be market.
Market.
Market
That's
for
pretty
whom, I
vague.
think, is the question. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you very much for presenting it. We look forward to your official presentation.
All right, thanks.
Okay, we have quite a few administrative approvals that if, I think those are available online, right, Scotty?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about any of them? Comments from the planning department?
None at this time.
Okay. And then I have placed a proposal to the bylaws in front of you, and turns out what we have to do is we have to change the ordinance and then the bylaws, but what this does is kind of clean up the whole question about the 3-year term and the term limit, and what it basically does is says that if you've been on for 1 year as a replacement of someone, say, did you replace somebody?
Stan Carroll.
Anyway, then your 3-year terms that this addresses would start when you have your first 3-year term. So it's 3 years terms is the term limit. We can't do anything about it today, and very likely we're not having a December meeting, as you kind of gathered.
But we've noted your concerns, and what we're going to try to do in January is bring before you a proposal to amend the downtown ordinance, as well as a proposal to amend the bylaws, so that you can at least look through them, make your comments. We will have to bring back the bylaws a second time for you to vote on those, but we'll have to have the ordinance amendment through the process before we can actually adopt the new bylaws, which we hope to do before too long.
Very good. Anyway, with that, we will probably not see you until, unless there's some kind of emergency, until the new year. So, happy holidays, everybody, and have a wonderful December.
Have a great wedding.
Thank you. I think they're going back to Boston, and I'm going to stay here for my honeymoon. We are adjourned. Boston.
Have the best time.